Is Omicron a concern for people on prednisone? That's the question for today. I'm Dr. Megan, a prednisone pharmacist, and I'm here to answer that question. Based on the latest research available to me, today it's January 10th, and I recently got an email from my state Department of Health giving details about what the status is in my state. So first of all, the thing to know is obviously Omicron is a new variant. Omicron may be more transmissible, and so it's way more contagious. Like, we're having this humongous spike all the way across the country. Tons of people are infected. At the same time, it's being shown to be slightly less potentially lethal, less terrible to have. But what about people on prednisone? That's the real question. Unfortunately, there's no good answer as to how bad it truly is for people on prednisone. But what you need to know are what I'm about to share with you regarding treatment. So if you are taking prednisone, then you need to stay in contact with your doctor if you have any signs of having COVID. And with Omicron, the signs are different. They're headaches, fatigue, and achiness, not necessarily the sore throat or runny nose or whatever of the previous variants. So if you're having those symptoms, then stay in close contact with your doctor, because the treatments that are potentially available to you work best the sooner you are diagnosed with COVID. So that's the first thing to know. The next thing to know is if you're having those symptoms, most states have like a little test that, like a quiz, an online quiz or a phone thing where you can go through to take a risk score to find out how likely you are to be infected and have a poor outcome. And so it goes through age, gender, like hospitalization status, whether you're on oxygen, things like that. And then one of the most important questions for people on prednisone is, are you taking an immune compromising medication? And it defines what those are, like azathioprine, methotrexate, chemotherapy, things like that. And the last one on the list for my state was prednisone 20 milligrams or more. So if you're taking prednisone 20 milligrams or more in my state, that is enough to put you over the threshold into being considered for treatment. Now, what's kind of scary about the treatment, and the reason my state Department of Health sent this email out, is that with Omicron, a lot of the treatments we've created don't work anymore. So Regen Cove, which was a combination of 2 monoclonal antibodies that they would infuse into your arm, doesn't work at all against Omicron. So they have to, it's useless. It doesn't help anyone who has Omicron. That's the first one. There are several others that don't work. The ones that do work include sotrovimab and Paxlovid. Remdesivir might also help, but it doesn't work as well. So those 2 are the very best. Unfortunately, the supply of those 2 is less than half of what the previous supply was of the other monoclonal antibodies. So there's a higher demand because there's so many people getting infected with Omicron, and we have half of the supply. So even if you qualify for these drugs, you may not get them because the demand is so incredibly high for them right now. The government is distributing them equally across the whole country based on the population size. But when there are 1 million cases reported in one day, that supply is being outstripped instantly. And so my recommendation to you is, if you are not already vaccinated, to become vaccinated. And that, if you're on prednisone, means 3 full doses and a booster. 3 full doses and a booster. That means you are eligible to have 4 shots. 3 full and a little halvesy. 3.5 need to be injected into you if you're on prednisone. Because you are at higher risk of worse outcomes if you're infected with COVID. you're at higher risk of being hospitalized. You're at higher risk of being intubated. You're at higher risk of dying because you're taking this immune compromising medication. So you get vaccinated, and then you need to act as if you are unvaccinated. Get vaccinated and act unvaccinated. What does that mean? That means you take incredible precautions to prevent getting infected. You wear an N95 mask. You avoid crowds. You do online shopping to have it delivered to your house. You do whatever you can to protect yourself right now while this crazy surge is happening, because you do not want to be on that waiting list and dying on the waiting list. You need to do whatever you can right now to protect yourself, because those treatments will continue to be available. But if there's such a high competition to get them, you might not get them. So you want to do whatever you can to stay out of the hospital because you have COVID. To stay out of the hospital, period. And especially to not get COVID right now, because you cannot afford that risk. There's just not enough treatments available. Not right now. And then even if there are enough treatments, there are not enough staff available. They're all getting sick. So if I were you, get vaccinated and act as if you are unvaccinated. And I have a checklist of what I did to help me feel better while I was recovering from my vaccines. So if you're wondering what's the best way to recover, like to support yourself while you're recovering, click below and you can get that. Just say I want it if in the comments section, and if this is on YouTube, then say leave your email address and we'll send that over to you. And then if you are currently infected with COVID and you're like, what should I do? Tell your doctor, get onto your state's risk score calculator and take the test, because that'll get you on the waiting list. Get on that waiting list as soon as you possibly can if you're infected with COVID. Stay in close contact with your doctor and get vaccinated, but act as if you're unvaccinated. I'd love to hear what other questions you have about Omicron below. Signing off as Dr. Megan, your prednisone pharmacist.